The Night Shift. Chapter 2. Every call light on the floor burned red like tiny eyes staring back at Laura. The hallway hummed. The letters on the chart finished her name, Laura, then stopped, the pen that wasn't there lifting off the page. For 2 heartbeats, nothing moved. Then all the lights went dark at once, and the only sound was a single, sharp beep from the monitor inside 319. The charge nurse's footsteps came fast. "Laura?" she called from the main hall. Laura blinked. The power snapped back. The call lights were off. The square of paper was neatly stuck over the window again. The chart that had slid to the threshold was gone, as if someone had reached out and dragged it back into the room without making a sound. "I'm here," Laura answered. "At the old wing." Her voice felt thin in the cold. "Come back to the station," the charge nurse said. No argument in her tone. Just rules. Just safety. Laura closed 319's door and pulled the handle. It locked with a clean click, like a mouth choosing not to speak. She looked at the clock. 3:22 a.m. She walked back down the hall, counting her steps to calm herself. 12 to the corner. 30 to the station. By the time she reached the counter, her breath had stopped showing in the air. "Sit," the charge nurse said. Her name was Dana. She was the sort of nurse who could steady a room by just standing in it. She poured water into a paper cup and set it in front of Laura. "Tell me what you saw." "Nothing," Laura said first, because that was easiest. Then she shook her head. "No. Not nothing." The board lit up. The door was unlocked. There was a chart. My name, it was on. She pressed her lips together and tried again. "Something's wrong with that room." Dana didn't flinch. She took a breath, slow and even. "We're putting a security seal on the door when the sun comes up," she said. "I'll email risk management, maintenance, and security. We'll log what we can log. We keep the wing closed. You don't go down there alone. Deal?" Laura nodded. The simple list helped. It gave her feet a floor. The rest of the shift felt like a low, quiet tide. The computers kept working. Patients slept. The elevator chimed in its too cheerful way. At 6:45 a.m., day shift nurses came in, scarves dusted with snow. Someone brought a box of donuts. Someone else laughed about the parking lot plow being late again. Night shift gave report and handed over the floor like a set of keys. Laura walked out into the gray, early light. Her car was a little white island under the thin snow. When she started the engine, the radio came on in the middle of a song, and then clipped out for a second. When it returned, a digital clock on the dash blinked 3:19 before jumping to 6:57. She stared at the number like it was a face she hoped not to see again. "Stop it," she told herself. "You're tired." She went home to her small rental with the yellow porch light that always burned a little too warm. She set her badge on the kitchen table, peeled off her shoes, and stood under the shower until the hot water tank sighed. She slept hard for 4 hours and then woke up like she had been pulled to the surface by a string. Her phone buzzed on the nightstand, Dana's text. "Sealed 319. Maintenance says vent is fine. Security wants to pull footage tonight at 11. You okay?" Laura typed. "I'm okay. Be in at 10:57. She stopped, added a small heart, then deleted it, then sent the message plain. Before work, she stopped at the grocery store for soup and apples, pushing the cart slowly because she didn't want to rush anywhere today. The town looked normal. Kids jumping over slush piles, a man in a knit hat scraping ice off his windshield with a library card, the smell of coffee from the shop next to the laundromat. It comforted her to be around things that didn't blink or whisper. When she clocked in that night, security was already on the 3rd floor. 2 monitors sat on a rolling cart, showing black and white feeds of the hallways. The guard from last night, Malik, nodded at her. He was tall, patient, the kind of person who could spend hours watching for something and not get bored. "Got a minute?" he asked. "Sure," Laura said, looking at the screens. One showed the main hall. One showed the old wing. Malik rolled back the feed. This was 3:16 to 3:22 this morning, he said. Watch. On the old wing screen, the lights looked normal, dim but steady. The camera stood just outside 319, looking down the quiet corridor. For a while, nothing moved. Then the image fuzzed, just for a second, like heat ripples on a road. In that blur, something long and gray slid across the floor at the base of 319's door and stopped at the line of light. The camera had no sound, but even without audio, Laura knew what that slide had been, the chart. See this? Malik pointed. He tapped the timeline to slow the playback down. A shadow, thin and tall, passed across the door's window. It had shoulders, a head, a bend at the neck. It stopped where the old cross had hung, then faded like breath on glass. Malik pushed the card away from the counter and lowered his voice. I've worked nights in 3 buildings before this one. You get insects, you get bad wiring, you get bored kids messing with elevators. But I don't know what that is. Could it be reflection? Laura asked, and was almost glad to hear her own voice say it, to still be a person who wanted reasons. Maybe, Malik said. But the camera angle doesn't support it. Dana came over with a clipboard. Risk wants it sealed, she said. Facilities put a tamper strip on the door frame. If it peels, we'll know. What about the call lights? Laura asked. IT says they're checking for crosstalk in the system, Dana said. Sometimes old wiring lets one signal jump to another. We'll see. They worked their list. The night went back to the ordinary things that matter. Blood sugars checked, pillows fluffed, a family on speakerphones saying goodnight to their grandmother. At 1 a.m., Laura warmed socks for Mr. Collins again. At 1:30 a.m., she helped the asthma-teen sit up and breathe through a tight patch, counting with him, in 4 out 6. His mom mouthed, "Thank you," into the dim. At 2:10 a.m., Laura filled glove boxes because habits help. At 2:31 a.m., the cold came back like someone opened a door to January and forgot to close it. The old wing seemed to exhale frost. Laura looked at the thermostat. It read 71 degrees Fahrenheit. Her skin told her otherwise. She walked to the line where the regular hall met the old wing and stopped. The tamper strip glowed faintly on 319's door, thin, clear tape with tiny letters that said void if the bond broke. It was perfect. No peel. She backed away. At 2:45 a.m., Chaplain Maya stepped off the elevator. She wore a soft gray sweater and a badge that said, Spiritual Care. She had kind eyes and a quiet voice that didn't need to be loud to be heard. Dana must have asked her to come. Night, folks, Maya said. Mind if I sit a bit? Please, Dana said. Coffee? God help me, yes. Maya smiled, then looked at Laura. How's your night? Laura didn't plan to talk. She found herself talking anyway, because Maya asked questions in a way that made answers feel safe. Laura told her about the cold, the lights, the sound. She didn't use words like ghost. She said something, a lot. Maya listened like someone receiving a fragile box. Hospitals hold a lot of stories, she said at last. Some feel unfinished. If you'd like, I can walk the hall and say a few words. Not a ritual. Just kindness said out loud. That's allowed? Dana asked, half teasing, half serious. It's just kindness, Maya said. We can always use more. They walked together to the old wing, Dana at the door, Laura and Maya 2 steps back. They didn't go in. Maya stood in the threshold and spoke softly, not religious words, just human ones. This is a place for rest, she said to the air. For healing. For letting go of what hurts. If anyone feels stuck here, we see you. We wish you peace. The air moved across their hands like someone breathing out for the first time in a long time. The cold thinned a little. Laura's shoulders dropped without her telling them to. Thank you, she said. Maya touched the doorframe with 2 fingers, gentle. Call if you need me, she said, and went back to the elevator. At 3:10 a.m., the floor was quiet. The elevator didn't chime. The call board sat still. Laura checked her watch and realized, with a small bloom of superstition she didn't want to own, that 3:19 was coming. Her chest felt tight, like waiting for a thunderclap you know will arrive. A soft tone came from the nurse's station computer, new lab results. The normal world trying to keep its place. Laura clicked them open, skimmed, signed. She stood, stretched her back, and told her legs to walk the main hall, to be in bright, ordinary places. The lights flickered once. Just once. She looked down the old wing. The tamper strip on 319's door was still flat and clear. 3:18 a.m. Laura lifted her radio. All good? She asked softly, not sure of who she was asking. Good, Dana answered from the med room. Good, Malik answered from his cart, eyes on the screens. 3:19 a.m. Nothing happened. Laura let out a breath she didn't know she was holding. A laugh almost came, the shaky kind people have after a near miss. She set the vital signs card against the wall and leaned on it for a second. Her pager buzzed. No one used pagers anymore on nights unless something was old or odd. The tiny screen glowed green. One message scrolled across. Please. Laura stared. She lifted the radio. Dana, she said. Did you page me? No, Dana answered. You okay? Pager glitch, Laura said, though she knew her pager wasn't even connected to the old system anymore. Please, the tiny screen repeated. The call board lit up. Not all at once. Not in a wave. Just one light, the little square for 319, glowing red steady, as if a thumb was pressed to a button inside that no one had touched in 2 years. Malik blew out a breath. What do you want to do? He asked. Stay here, Dana said quickly to Laura. I'll go look. Laura shook her head. No, together. 2 of us. With you. She looked at Malik. And you, please. On you, he said, rolling the cart forward like a shield. They walked in a small triangle, careful and quiet, like people nearing a wild animal they didn't want to scare. The old wing met them with its usual tired hum. The tamper strip on 319's door was still untouched. The call board still said 319. Please, Laura's pager said again, though no one was touching it. Dana reached for the handle. She didn't turn it. She bent and looked at the tamper strip, eyes close to the tiny letters. Still intact. On 3, Dana said. I crack it. We look. If it's nothing, we shut it and seal it again. If it's something. If it's something, we keep our heads, Malik said. 1, Dana said. 2. She paused. Laura could hear her own breathing, careful and slow. 3. Dana turned the handle. The latch clicked. The door didn't move. Stuck. She pushed. It opened an inch, then 2. Cold air spilled out, fast enough to make Laura's eyes water. A scent came with it, alcohol pads, old rain, and something like a winter coat pulled from a closet. They looked in. The bed was made. The monitor was off. The pillow was empty. The chart lay on the floor under the foot of the bed, half hidden, like someone had pushed it there with one tired kick. Don't go in, Dana whispered. But even as she said it, the monitor flickered to life. A green flat line appeared. Then a single blip. Then another. Beep. 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 Soft, and slow and steady. Malik held up the camera cart. Its screens showed the same thing they were seeing, proof the world agreed with their eyes. Dana reached for the door to pull it closed. The monitor printed. Laura hadn't even noticed the little paper strip at the side, the kind that spits out thin white tape when there's a rhythm to record. It fed itself forward now, whispering a soft chirp as it moved. Letters appeared on the paper, boxed black numbers and words no machine like that should be able to make. We're still here. Dana stopped breathing for a beat. Malik whispered, Okay. The way people do when they don't know what else to say. Laura stepped forward without meaning to. The air in the room pressed cool against her face. She looked at the paper strip. A new line printed beneath the first, as if the machine were thinking and then deciding. Help! The radio on Laura's shoulder crackled, popped, and went silent. The elevator at the far end of the hall dinged cheerfully, doors opening to nobody. In the main corridor, a patient laughed in their sleep, a soft, happy sound that made the hair stand up on Laura's arms because happiness felt out of place here. Maya's voice came from behind them. Laura hadn't heard her approach. "Don't step inside," the chaplain said, calm but firm. "Not yet." They turned. Maya had one hand on the doorframe, like she was grounding herself. "If something wants help," she said, eyes on the monitor paper, "there may be something we can do that doesn't start with us crossing a line we can't uncross." "Like what?" Dana whispered. "Names," Maya said. "Names can loosen knots." Laura swallowed. "Michael Greer," she said, her voice steadying as she spoke the name on the chart she wasn't touching. "You died at 3:19. We remember you. We see you. If you're still waiting for something, tell us what you need." The paper fed out another inch. It printed nothing. The green line stayed slow. The room got colder. Dana's fingers tightened on the door. The overhead light in 319 went from dim to bright. Not a flicker. A snap, as if someone had thrown the switch to full day. All three of them squinted. In the glare, for half a second, the corner where the cross had once hung seemed full. Not with a person. With many. Like a crowd pressed into a small space, all shadow and outline, shoulder to shoulder, waiting. Then the bulb popped and blew out, and the room fell dark again. The monitor kept beeping. The printer kept feeding. The paper finally took words, not one. Laura's throat tightened. She looked at Maya, then at Dana, then at Malik. "Close it," Dana said, voice soft and shaking now. "We close it. We call admin, call the morning team, call whoever we have to. We're not fixing this at 3:24 a.m. They eased the door shut. The latch clicked. The tamper strip wrinkled, then smoothed, as if a hand inside had pressed it flat from the other side. Laura stared at the clear tape, the tiny letters so neat and ordinary on top of something that wasn't. They went back to the station like people carrying glass in their hands. Maya sat with them. No one tried to make a joke. No one said the word ghost. They wrote an incident note, the way the hospital asked them to, using careful words. "Abnormal temperature drop, equipment activation without patient presence," printed text from bedside monitor. The printer tape lay on the desk, curled, showing "We're still here" and "help" and "not one" like signs in a small parade. Quiet returned, not kind, just tired. Alarms stayed normal. The elevator remembered to be annoying again. The night moved past its darkest point toward a thin gray seam of morning. At 5:12 a.m., Mr. Collins woke and asked for his socks to be warmed one more time. Laura did it, grateful for a task that made sense. At 6:01 a.m., Malik rolled his cart to the elevator. "I'll be back," he said, tapping the tape gently with one finger. "Don't let that walk away." "It won't," Dana said, and put it in a manila envelope like it was evidence, which it was, in its way. At 6:18 a.m., Laura stood to stretch and felt something odd under her shoe. She stepped back. On the floor, right where her left foot had been, lay a small metal tag, the kind that clips to a hospital ID band. It was old, a little bent, stamped with a number, 319. "Did anyone drop?" she began, and then stopped, because the tag was cold as ice even after sitting under her warm shoe. Dana looked up. "Where was that?" "Under my foot," Laura said, and her own words sounded strange in her mouth. "Just now." Maya leaned in, eyes soft. "Sometimes things return what they want you to notice," she said. The elevator chimed. Day shift voices arrived, bright and sleepy, talking about the snow and bad coffee. The world started itself up like big machines do, gears catching one by one. Laura picked up the tag. On the back, scratched faint but clear, were 3 letters and a number she didn't expect. Room 319. 319. And below it, as thin as a pin, a second set of numbers she didn't recognize yet. 333. Before she could say anything, the fire alarm test, scheduled for the first Monday of the month, kicked on by mistake. Sirens hooped once, twice. Lights strobed. The overhead speaker crackled. And in that brief wash of red strobe light, every empty bed on the floor showed an impression on the sheet, as if someone had just sat down and decided to stay. Night Shift Chapter 2 Loading. Stay active.